Thank you, Pierre, and good morning. We actually had a blue building yesterday. Let's see if it's going to be blue today too. I think that the sea and seafood and the marine sector is a fairy tale. It has been, and I think it will still be. I think it covers a lot that we have not discovered yet. And it will be an exciting sector also for the years to come. The sea and seafood has always been the DNA of Norway, obviously by natural courses, having the longest coastline in Europe. Norway's geographic position and natural attributes make it particularly well suited for fishery and aquaculture. And this sector enjoys a dominant international position. And Norway is today the world's second largest exporter of fish and other seafood products. Especially over the last decade, we have seen growing seafood companies, a tremendous growth in both fish farming, catch, and BioMarine. And we have seen more and more companies driving the road from private to public companies, and especially within fish farming. And the background is, of course, based on the fact that the demographics support higher demand for proteins around the world. We expect to have growing populations. It's estimated that we will go from 7 to 9 billions in 2015. The urbanization will also increase. It's expected to go from 50% to 70% in 2050. It's also expected to have a growing middle class, from 400 millions to 1.2 billions in 2030. And with those figures, I think it's natural to say that it is expected that the increasing world demand will require more seafood supply. The analysts consider this sector to have a good underlying drivers with favorable regulation, with health-oriented customers, technological advancement, and growing seafood supply. With that background, I will use this opportunity, of course, to present to you the Oslo Børs, the blue trading place. As I said, the seafood sector has grown rapidly over the past decade, being 1% of the market cap of Oslo Børs, until today being 10% of the market cap of Oslo Børs. We are the world's largest exchange within the sector, measured by market cap and number of companies. We have formed peer groups for the whole sector, which in order also attract investors from all over the world. To support the growth, companies choose to list, and listed companies are in a better position to issue new shares and bonds. And we are offering listings in both shares and bonds, of course. We are also, when we have building the sector over the last 10 years, made a tradable seafood index, which make it possible for investors also to invest in the index, not only in the separate companies. It is a strong financial cluster here in Norway with high competence on the marine sector, and they are offering good analyst coverage, very competent corporate advisors and bankers, and they're well known for a strong distribution power to the Norwegian and to the international investors. Companies within this value chain from all over the world turn to Oslo for access to capital. So I think the cluster is quite important, especially when you're looking into growing sectors. And when I mentioned previously about this making a peer group, it's quite important for investors to compare the companies and the pricing of the companies. So why do list in Oslo? I give you some of the reasons already, but most companies would like to grow, and in order to do that, I want to tap into the risk capital markets. And then it's important to have both competent investor, but it's quite important to have a high visibility to the investor world, which means that in the cluster here in Oslo, we have very good coverage, analyst coverage, and they're very competent, which means that your company will heighten the visibility to the international market. It is important for investors that you can use international rules and regulation, and we are basing all our rules and regulation on EU standards. And we have very efficient listing processes, which is quite important not only to hold your costs down, but also to have the correct timing when you are entering the market. In addition to that, we have 3 different marketplaces for equity and 2 for bonds. And the 3 different marketplaces for equity is the fully regulated exchange market, a regulated market for smaller companies, and a market for smaller companies based on an MTF license, which means that you can both have a private and a public company there. The new market, the Merkur market, should probably give it another name I'm thinking about today, but it was established earlier this year in January, and the purpose was to give option to smaller and medium-sized companies to require a simpler access to the market, with less comprehensive requirements, open to private limited companies, and we do not require prospectus or IFRS. This whole idea is based on the CMU, the Capital Market Union, thoughts on an MTF license where you actually need smaller companies all over Europe to tap into the securities market. I will also just give you one example. Most of the companies listed at the exchange today are Norwegian, but we have also had listings from all over the world, actually, both from Peru, from other parts of Europe. And I will give you just one example. We have a listing, a company called Bakkafrost. It comes from the Faroe Islands. It's stationed on the Faroe Islands. They have their only and their primary listing here in Oslo, and they listed in 2010. When they did that listing in 2010, they were 7 times oversubscribed, their issue. 3 years later, they issued their first bond. They're today, from last year, member of our main index, which means that the shares are amongst the 25 most traded shares at the exchange. And they also have analyst coverage by 12 investment banks. And I don't think it's a secret that their investors are very happy with that share. So finally, I will assure you that Oslo Børs' commitment to the sector is very high. We have several delegates here today, and we are looking forward to interact and to meet during the convention. And after, of course. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Bente, and I'm pretty sure that I've identified, at least 3 companies that could be, good target for you to float them here in Oslo. I'm going to call our long-term, partner, Nofima, Øyvind Fili Jensen. Øyvind, he was yesterday on TV, but it was in Norwegian, so I was not able to understand exactly what he said, but everybody told me it was nice words. Thank you.
Thank you. 10 hours? Ladies and gentlemen, dear ministers, honorable guests, BioMarine, what is it? We have heard about the investment in the seafood sector, but BioMarine is so much more than that. We know that the Earth's surface is covered about approximately 70% with water. Though only 4 to 5% of the protein we are needing and using to meet the increased population growth, increased demand for protein in the middle class, as Bente mentioned, has to come from somewhere. And we know that exploitation of the terrestrial resources are at a level where it's important to move it on. So, taking this into consideration, the BioMarine is much more than utilizing the capture fisheries or to utilizing the aquaculture. These sectors will grow, but it also opens up for the new bioeconomy, that the technology where you take, use, and throw away has to stop. It has to change, and we have to get a new way of thinking where everything is utilized and all the material we are harvesting from the sea in the future will be used for new resources and creation of new value chains. That is the bioeconomy. That is the BioMarine business opportunities. that lays ahead of us. If we take this into a perspective, we will see that you need to have a focus both on the sustainability and the resilience and the ecosystems. That is one part of the equation. The other part is that when industries start exploring, be it algae, be it microalgae, be it unused resources that has not yet been exploited, it has to be done in an understanding and deep understanding of the ecosystem and the interaction between the different parts. What does it take to make an industry in this sector? I think there are 5 factors that you will need to meet, and that's why this conference is so very important. You have to have a cross-functional and cross-disciplinary research approach. It's not enough to only focus on technology. You have to understand the biology. And today, there is not one person who's been able to trick biology by technology or money. So you have to understand this in a context. So research is the second part. Applied research, but also fundamental research. Going from the deep understanding of the ecosystem, understanding of the fundamentals, and then turning and translating the research into action and creation of new workplaces. And I think we in this community play a very important role in that system. Then you need competence. You need to build and educate the younger generation, and it has to start in the schools. It has to start at a medium level, and it has to start and to continue at the university, where we show that this is a very, very attractive field and where it's important that we get the best and the smartest people to actually come into this sector. In addition to that, we need a regulatory framework, both taking care of the industry operation framework, but also making it predictable for those who want to go in and start businesses, that they know what are the rules, what are the do's and what are the don'ts, and not that we put it up to everybody to exploit nature in a way that is not sustainable. Last but not least, we have to build and use the research infrastructure in a much more clever way than we have been doing so far. We have to share the knowledge, we have to share the infrastructure on a national basis and on an international basis, and we have to exploit it through collaboration across countries. That's why the importance of having more than just Norwegian talking to each other in a strange language that nobody understands is important at this conference. I know we have French people, French-speaking people from Canada, we have people from the US, from Australia, from Argentina, and so forth. And this is, to me, a way that we can leverage the future by collaborating across borders. And last is understanding of the market and developing products that consumers want and that consumers need, and that contributes to improved public health and to improved personal health. And the BioMarine resources is a very important part of this work due to the health benefits from food from the sea. All this in a context, unless it's attractive to investors, that investor can see that they are able to make money, create jobs that create income from families, that create taxes that is refurbished back in and reinvested into the society. This is not possible. And that's why the stock exchange is important, why the regulatory framework is important, why research is important, and last but not least, that knowledge is important. I hope you will use this conference to meet new people, new friends, and discuss the overall possibility and potential in this industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Øyvind. Thank you for those nice words. I'm going to call Friedrich. You have to excuse my Norwegian. Fridtjof. Is that correct? Fosemunander from the Research Council of Norway, please.
Thank you, Pierre. Dear ministers, friends of the BioMarine business, good morning. It's an honor to have the opportunity to address you here at this business convention. The Research Council is one of the national official partners of this year's convention. And as a Research Council, we are a key player in the Norwegian R&D system. In Norway, we only have one research council, which means that we are covering research in all scientific fields, all topic areas. And we also fund projects all the way from basic science to innovation projects where industry has the lead. We have several core functions in the Research Council. One is obviously to fund research. We are a funding agency, and we have various mechanisms and programs and support schemes to do so. We have an annual budget of about 1 billion euro in supporting research from the government. In fact, we're receiving funding from all ministries in Norway, although to a varying degree. A second function that we have is to advise the government on research priorities. That means providing advice both on national R&D priorities, but also providing advice to the different ministries on what the priorities should be within each of the ministries' own responsibility. We also have a function in organizing networking activities, a convening role, if you like, and also dissemination. And last but not least, we have a role in stimulating for international collaboration of research. So with this background, why is the BioMarine Business Convention important to us? First of all, the topic, and that's already been alluded to, but ocean is one priority area for research in Norway by the government. This is listed as one of the priority areas that we should follow up. And this is true not at least when it comes to sustainable value creation from the ocean's bioresources. Secondly, this convention is an excellent arena for exchanging knowledge, for exchanging innovative ideas and forming new partnerships. And in fact, developing knowledge, developing innovative ideas and developing partnerships are all focus areas of the work that we do in the Research Council. And I will say a few words about why these three are important in the context of the oceans. First, developing knowledge. We need knowledge for the management of the marine ecosystem, as these ecosystems are the basis for the biomarine businesses. Without these ecosystems, there will be no business. And hence, this knowledge is the foundation for the long-term value creation from the living resources, both in the oceans, both nationally and internationally. The life in the oceans know no national boundaries. Secondly, stimulating knowledge-based innovation. The oceans provide enormous future opportunity for jobs and value creation. According to the recently published OECD report, The Ocean Economy in 2030, the global ocean economy could double by 2030, and that's in only 13 years. This entails significant growth potential for the biomarine industries, which can draw on new knowledge and innovation to utilize marine resources for value creation and new products. In Norway, we are well placed to harvest on these opportunities, obviously because we have a lot of oceans, and hence BioMarine Resources, but also because we have an internationally leading industry expertise in maritime technology, offshore petroleum technology, and within fisheries and aquaculture activities. We believe that there is a great potential in utilizing this expertise across what we call the blue sectors in order to develop technology and a technology industry that can serve the BioMarine businesses. And we believe that cooperation across these blue sector areas can open doors to new opportunities and promote growth in the BioMarine industries. And to stimulate the knowledge-based innovation, we have world-leading research groups in Norway in fisheries and aquaculture research, including selective breeding and fish health, and dynamic groups in marine bioprospective and biotechnology. And it's our role as a research council to support and to stimulate the development of the scientific capacity of these groups, but also to stimulate the collaboration with industry and with international research partners. We have several financing mechanisms to stimulate this, both specific programs. We have centers of scientific excellence, and we have center of research-driven innovation. This year, we have also launched a new initiative on ocean technologies, where we try to attract industry's interest in transferring technology and knowledge between the blue sectors. So this call is open to all suppliers in the technology industry related to all blue sectors. And in fact, we were looking for projects that could demonstrate the potential for technology transfer, for knowledge transfer between these sectors. We had this call or the first call just closed now, and we're very pleased to see the response that we got to this call. It clearly means that the Norwegian ocean technology industry is ready to move forward and to harvest opportunities of cross-sectoral collaboration. Across our financial instruments, we have a high priority on fostering international collaboration and on strengthening ties between industry and research group, which takes me to my third argument for why this convention is important to us, a meeting place for strengthening collaboration. And with impressing participation from BioMarine business actors, as well as research groups present here, from more than 23 countries, as I understand. This convention should be an excellent opportunity for forming new partnerships and to further develop collaboration. And with that, I wish you all the best for the next couple of days. The Research Council will be participating. We are organizing some events later today, for example, together with Innovation Norway and NMBU. So we look forward to fruitful discussions, and we wish you all the best for the next couple of days. Thank you.
Thank you, Fridtjof. I've been told that, even if there's nothing on the screen, it's still going live. So don't worry. It's a technical problem. It's going to be fixed very soon. BioMarine is kind of a family, and having BioMarine without Odd Manor Rosset is like Christmas without Christmas, the Christmas tree, or the Santa Claus. He's somewhere between Thailand and Norway, flying over. He's late, but we are fortunate because he's on the plane. So Nina, the CEO from Aquagen, is there. And thank you. She will deliver an even better message. Thank you. Welcome, Nina.
So, ministers, honorable guests, and friends, it is an honor for me to step in for Odd Magne Rødseth, Aquagen's chairman of the board, and say a few words on behalf of Aquagen at the start of this event. Our company represents the very beginning of the salmon value chain, as we provide the starting material for the industry by delivering carefully selected eggs for further production by the fish farmer. So we are literally the DNA of the salmon industry. In this work, we apply the latest methods of quantitative genetics and genomics based on global collaboration with scientists in aquaculture, agriculture, and medicine. In aquaculture genetics, we have experienced how technology development can result in value creation along the value chain. As an example, improved growth or improved disease resistance for only a few percent will have huge impact in an industry producing hundreds of millions of individuals every year. Technology development today is multidisciplinary and based on high-level competence. The value we create from it will have to be based on sustainable industries and contribute to a circular economy. Already, there is a range of initiatives and opportunities, and this week you will find them here in Oslo. The key to realize these opportunities is to interact with people. And BioMarine is all about people. People with knowledge, people with trust, open people willing to exchange ideas. And dear guests, within the next couple of days, you will experience this fully throughout the event. I would like to give an especially warm welcome to the representatives from Argentina, a country which has a large and varied food production, but still sees opportunities in the biomarine industries. They are represented here today by their Minister of Science, Technology and Productive Innovation, and it's an honor to have you here. And this event is also visited by a delegation from Quebec, which is truly a province of opportunity when it comes to biomarine industries. And it will be so exciting to hear about the development and activity you are about to create. It is also a pleasure for me to meet our host from BioMarine 2014 again, with the representatives from Portugal. I had the pleasure of visiting the event in Cascais 2 years ago. It was a wonderful location and a great time. I returned home after this meeting with new thoughts, new ideas, new contacts and inspiration, which is exactly the recipe for innovation. So, fellow attendants, let's enjoy, interact, exchange views and ideas for 2 full days, and bring home new inspiration for value creation. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you, Nina. Last but not least, she is what we call, the inspiration for marine biotech. I would like you to welcome Cecil Rogner. She's the CEO from IMR, which is worldwide famous. And I want you, all those people on the stage, to look at them and grab the opportunity. Talk to them, don't be shy. I know that some of you are trying to hide, but today they're going to be everywhere and they want your business. Cecil, please welcome.
Dear ministers, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, after listening to this nice presentation, I thought I should change mine slightly. I would like to tell you some stories. I have been the director of the Institute for Marine Research only since January. And what has puzzled me is actually how fast the ocean is changing. I thought there was be one stable organism in this world that had to be the ocean. But the ocean is changing so dramatically that we actually have to change ourselves. Not only in the way we are organizing the science, the industry, the research council, and the ministries, but we actually have to change our habits ourselves in the way we are thinking and the way we are eating and the way we are handling the ocean. I'm here because I think this audience is exactly a meeting place for making a change. And who are we? We are the Institute of the Marine Research. We are the second largest marine research institute in Europe with 750 dedicated researchers. And we have a vision and a mission, and that is clean and productive oceans for the eternity. Nothing more, nothing less. And that is exactly what the story is about. It's changing so fast that we have to do something because the ecosystems are changing, and particularly in the cold waters. During the last 10 years, we see that the ecosystems are dramatically different, so different that they end up in the front page of Science and Nature, because it is so that all the research and also that way it comes to actually the baseline for our economy. It's actually the stocks and the fishes. They are moving very, very fast, and so has the industry to do as well. So we see as the research managers, because we give advice to the Norwegian government, that large stocks are moving completely different. The ecosystem are changing, and they are changing fast. And that is a challenge and an opportunity for industry and for us, because the technology has to be different, because we have to explore and observe the oceans in different ways. So for me, as the director of the Institute for Marine Research, this is an opportunity to work differently with, for instance, the industry. So we launch ocean observatories and the coastal zone management systems, because we have to know what's going on, because this is exactly what the industry is also needing. So now we are putting together people from the subsea areas to make nice and large observatory system. And that is something for the data industry, for the ship owners, the ship industry, and for everything related to sea activity. And that is where I challenge you, because we are in the same sea or the oceans. We can look at the coral reefs. The cold water Norwegian coral reefs are the same as we find outside Africa. So we can learn so much from each other, and we have to work together. There is also another thing, another story I would like to discuss with you, and that is that we have to harvest differently. We cannot continue to cut out only the fillet of the fish and eat them as sushi. We actually have to eat the whole fish, and we have to eat completely of the fishes. My favorite fish nowadays, they are that small, they look horrible, they have all the gooey stuff you can imagine, but there are millions and millions of tons of them. They move around in all our waters, and they are called mesopelagic fishes. You wouldn't feed it to your cat, but we have to eat it if we are clever. So that is also where industry comes in, and where all our nations could stick together. We need to fish this enormous biomass, use their proteins and their excellent oils. We have then a new opportunity for our industry: how to fish it, how to put it into the boats, how to make an industry out of these excellent oils and protein, and how to use it. These enormous biomasses are moving up and down every day, and you can see them on these all kind of scanners you are running on the ships. And here again come new industry, new technology. The sea is changing, and so do we have to do, and we have to work differently. And the beauty is that biology is absolutely basic, and the technology has to change too. And we are in the changing mood, and we are here to work differently. Thank you for attention, and I look forward to collaborate with you all.
Thank you, Cecil. That was a clear message, and I think that the stage is perfectly prepared, for all the exchange. Now we are almost Norwegian. We still have 15 minutes ahead, before the next session, and I'm going to take this occasion to ask you a few questions, if you don't mind. Okay? Can I use this mic for the answer? Perfect. I will start with Bente. So Bente, what do you intend in terms of blue strategy? What is the scope of the company that you want to attract, to Norway? Are we only talking about aquaculture, or are we also talking about cosmetic, nutraceutical? What is the scope of the company you really wish to attract there?
Thank you. Thank you. The scope is to try to have companies that form peer groups, because that will attract more investors, which means that the closer they are together in their business, the easier it is for the market to understand what they're actually doing. And that's quite important also for this sector. It's if you want to go public, is to make sure that the different business areas are understandable and easy to price, so it's easy for the investors to compare them. But all companies who are related to the blue marine will belong to the sector, and it will be with our help and the analysts' help to create the visibility on each another segment within the company.
There will be an interesting session tonight about floating the company, but for our friends coming from very far away, what will be the purpose to come to Oslo to float their company? Is it because all the people, the industry, the investors know very well the market and it's going to be easier for them, or what is the real catch?
The real catch is that the whole financial industry here is very competent on your sector and your products, which means they will add more help to your company than you will have in a market where you may be the only or one of very few companies. And it is the research, the analysts, the visibility, and the distribution power. And that's the fine thing with clusters. If you have a cluster, everybody's looking at it. So wherever you are in the world, if you want to invest in a seafood company, you know that in Oslo you will find the highest proportion of seafood companies. So it's easy. It's an easy catch.
Perfect. Would you mind giving the mic to Øyvind? Øyvind, my next question is for you, and we're going to go this way. It's going to be easier. So Øyvind, what is your immediate interest, because we have Argentina, Portugal, you work with pretty much everybody around the world. In terms of cooperation, what are you looking for during these next 2 days? Be specific.
That's
putting
me
answer.
on a hard spot. I can say that we know that both Portugal, Argentina, Quebec, or Canada, the US, all are we facing the same challenge. That we know too little, we know more about the surface of the moon or on the surface of Mars than we do about the ocean. And unless we approach this in a different way, we will not be able to succeed. Our catch and our need is to leverage and to get access to competence and capabilities that we do not have ourselves. That we can work transnationally to access this knowledge base, and also use that to enhance and to improve the quality of research, so that we can translate the research which is published in scientific papers nobody cares about, and turn these results into action and into jobs. That's my clear objective, and that's why this is some of the challenges that most of us are facing, that we invest in research, but the impact that we are creating, whether that is direct in the companies or is indirect as a benefit to the immediate society, or it's in form of intellectual property, or it's a society development. We have not been good enough at doing that as scientists. So then the second part of why I think it's interesting is that our newly launched, we launched yesterday an internal, a strategic research program in Nofima on proteins. And we can't do everything on this research program. And that's why we need collaborative partners to develop this even further.
Perfect. Fridtjof, I like your title, Director Division for Energy, Resource and Environment. I know that Norway is going through a big turbulence with the oil and gas. How do you see the shift? Because going from a fossil carbon, economy towards a blue circular economy, how do you anticipate this? What would be the big catch, for the next 10 years for Norway?
I think that question is being asked many times a day these days in Norway, and you get different answers. I think what we see from our side, we're supporting innovation and research in all sectors, also the natural resources sector. And the petroleum industry is a resource-based industry. So we have a lot of competence when it comes to resource management in general, but not at least when it comes to developing technologies and utilizing technologies, harvesting these resources. So I think in the way forward for Norway now, I think it's important. We're a small country, even if the unemployment rate is slightly higher now than it has been. We're still fortunate that that is relatively low. But we have a great potential now for utilizing available capacity within the petroleum sector to utilize that in other areas. And I mentioned that in my introductory remark now that we have launched a new initiative where in fact we're trying to attract competence and industry play, both on the research side, but primarily on the industry side, to see the opportunities in ocean technologies outside petroleum. We have a big maritime industry in Norway, for example, but they are serving the sectors that are paying for their services. They're not a sort of a resource-based industry in itself. And obviously the offshore petroleum sector has been very important for the maritime industry in Norway. They are now they have clearly difficulties in the situation we have now with low oil prices and lower activity levels. So there is a great opportunity to mobilize the maritime industry, to also mobilize the petroleum supply industry to look at technologies and solutions related, for example, to aquaculture.
Perfect.
So I think that thinking about, Bente mentioned clusters, but I think we have opportunities now to widen out the clusters, to create new clusters outside of maybe the more silos that we've had over the last 30, 40 years. Because we have to acknowledge that the petroleum sector has been a sector that has given a lot of, well, say high pay. It's been a very profitable sector, and it's been hard to compete in other sectors for competence and also for capital. But that situation has now changed with the situation in petroleum sectors. I think that gives us a very positive opportunity for change.
Perfect. Thank you. Really appreciate. Nina, live question, live answer. We know that you're the top expert in breeding selection for salmon. What is the future of what you're doing? Is it that you're going to concentrate on salmon and try to replicate that everywhere around the world? Or do you have any interest for shrimps, tilapia, other species, maybe the kind of species that will be able to grow and harvest, around Africa or somewhere else? What would be your answer?
So salmon has been our major species and has also been the model species on how to implement new tools and technology. But we have already started the work to apply the same tools and technology to other species. The other thing is to work with other salmonid species, but maybe you know that also our company has invested in a tilapia breeding company in Brazil. So we will also start applying this to this species. And here in Norway, we also start working on genetics and breeding of the cleaner fish, which has been a really important support for the salmon farmers. So these principles, they can be used for any species, and they will be very important for any aquaculture species to grow for mature production and for more efficient production.
Perfect. Thank you. Cecil, my last question will be for you. You from the research part, what will be the future, for our next blue generation, the young students that are coming into the BioMarine sector? How do you want to attract them? What are the possibilities? And what kind of direction we should give them, in terms of going and trying to find the right job afterwards?
I'm very happy for that question, because I'm a part-time professor as well. And I think, the most favorite lectures I give is about how nice it is to be a young person nowadays when the ocean is in focus politically and industrial, and in the research council. The future lies in the oceans and the seas. That's what I tell my students. So I think, the future for us to tell the story to the young people is it's unexplored, it's productive, there are so many opportunities in the oceans, and it's up to us to engage the young generation. And I also think that what we see here today, and this beautiful mixture of politicians, researchers, and industrial partners is actually what attracts young generation as well, is this cross-border anarchistic approach to life. That's exactly how we older people have to work like too. And the most nice thing is that it's good fun and it's very productive. So I think for us it's actually to think in new ways, because the ocean is changing and so do we have to do. And I'm very keen to now attract and attack the other people here to make this happen. Thank you.
Receive loud and clear. I would like you to join me and thank the panel. Thank you very much. And I look forward for fruitful exchange, and don't hesitate, reach to them and don't be shy again. Okay? Thank you.